Well, hello, and welcome to my studio and welcome to this video. My name is Sylvain Rochon from HomeStudioLogic.com. First, I want to make you hear my latest song. It's going to be the chorus and the solo part, where I want you to pay attention to the kick drum and the snare. And I'll discuss it afterwards, what I did to make them sound amazing and what you can do to make it sound amazing on your mixes.
I'm so scared that God may be calling out my name. I almost feel in bed. I'm the only one that I can blame. So today
All right, so you heard that the kick drum and the snare drum, you can hear them very well. So for the kick drum, instead of boosting up the low end and trying to get that kick drum to be in the mix and to be heard, there's something else you can do. And the same thing with the snare drum. When I started mixing, 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, I was turning up the levels, and on the kick drum, I would actually take the 60 hertz or 50 hertz and just boost it up like crazy. But the thing is, it created a fact where my low end was muddy and my low end was overwhelming, and it created some, it removed clearness, if you want, clarity in my mix, because I was trying to get those two parts of the drum kit to be heard. And sometimes when you boost a snare, so I was on the kick, now I'm on the snare. If you boost a snare, sometimes it tends to sound a bit thin. And if it sounds thin, you grab an EQ and you try to boost up the 200 hertz to make that snare drum a little bit thicker, and it creates an issue in the overall mix where the snare drum is now sounding wonk, wonk, wonk like this, and your kick drum is. So it creates chaos in the lower end of your mix. And there's a way you can easily control this. And the main factors you need to look at are what else are playing in those frequencies. Sometimes you've got keys, you got the bass for sure, and sometimes you might have some guitars. Yes, we try to roll off the low end on guitars, but sometimes if you have a chug distorted guitar, you want it to live at the lower end of the spectrum because it creates a good effect on the song and it creates rhythm, and you want it to be heard. But then again, it's living in the same area where your snare drum is and your kick drum is. So I'll show you what I do, and it's unfortunately, I'll be using a third-party plugin, except instead of using one from Logic, because it's easier. And you might not have it, but you might have something that will do the same thing. So let me show you what I do. All right, so let's go to the mixing board. On my bass track, I use 2 EQs from FabFilter, and they are set up in a dynamic EQ. So technically, you can use any dynamic EQ to do this. You can even maybe try a multi-compressor. That could work too. So what I'm doing is I sidechain this EQ to the bass drum. So what it does, it listens to the kick drum, and every time that the kick drum hits, it ducks the bass. In this case, it ducks it to by 3.19 dB. It's not much, but it's just enough for the kick drum to remain on top. And you don't want to go more than that, because what's going to happen is that your bass, when it's playing, you can eventually hear that it's ducking every kick drum hit, and you don't want that. You want the kick drum to stay on top, but you don't want to feel the bass being ducked every time that the kick drum hits. So that's what it's doing. If I press on play, you'll see what it's doing. It's following the kick drum, and the fun thing about this EQ is that it will actually show you both. It will show you the bass track, and it will show you the kick drum and its level, and you can visually see how deep you want to control this.
I'm so scared that God may be calling out my name. I almost feel impaired. I'm the only one that...
All right, so you can easily see that the EQ is reacting to the kick drum. Now, the other one is the frequency of the snare drum. Normally, a snare drum will be around 200. In this case, it was at 175. And it's doing the same thing, and I'm ducking 4.1. So again, if I press on play, and it's sidechained to the snare top. Snare top or snare bottom, it doesn't really matter. It's the same thing.
I'm so scared that God may be calling out my name. I almost feel impaired.
Now, what I normally do, I use the same settings, and I copy those two by holding the Option button, and I bring it to other tracks that are dominant, and I duck them as well. In this case, I'm ducking the electric guitars, because the electric guitars are doing their jobs all across the song, and I want to make sure that when I get to this section, which is the loudest section of this song, it's not the end, I wanted to make sure that the snare drum stays on top and the kick drum stays on top. Last week, I had a bunch of people listen to my mix, and the main thing that most of them said is that the kick drum and the snare drum are glorious. So I said, oh, that's a good thing, because I've been doing this side chaining trick for a while now, and it really, really helps to get the kick drum and the snare drum on top all across the song, and it's glorious. It really works beautifully, and you can definitely hear that they're always present. So let's press play again, and then you'll see on the guitars for the kick drum, you'll see what it's going on.
I'm so scared that God may be calling out my name.
So you can definitely see that it's doing its job. So technically, this is what I wanted to show you on this video. The most important thing when you're doing a mix is try not to use boost as much. Try to use reductions instead. For example, the same thing on a vocal. Okay, you don't want to boost frequencies, you want to remove the ones that are in the way. Well, it's the same thing we're doing here. We're removing on leading tracks, like in this case, guitars and bass, we're removing the portion of the frequency spectrum that the kick drum and the bass drum, the kick drum and the snare lives, so that they can be heard. Try to keep the bottom end clean and not muddy and not boomy. Try to keep it clean. That will create a mix where listeners are happy to listen to your song and they feel comfortable listening to it from start to end. If you like content like this, you can subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like it and leave me comments because I like to read them and I like to actually answer them. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. I want you to take care of yourself. And if you're in Canada like I am, it's snowing a lot lately, so be careful on the roads because I want you to be watching my new video next week. Take care.